Recording in progress.
Hello, good evening. Good to see you all. Good to see you, Sharon. Welcome back. Are you already back home? Yes. Yoo-hoo!
I beat the storms.
Exactly. Very good. So good to see you. And thank you, Nana, for being awake and here, helping out. So kind. So kind. So, very good. We are here again. As Sharon said, we beat many storms and we are alive because of that, which is already incredible. We think it's not, but it is. It's actually quite incredible that we are alive. It's it's a very special opportunity that we have actually just to be alive. So if it is something that we decided to come here and use our time that we are alive, we decided to come here, sit and listen to this blah blah blah. So that means that we need to make this blah 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 at least positive and beneficial. That's very important. But of course, I can make it. I can, from my side, try my best to make it. So but we all need to do it together, because even though you might be hearing whatever I have to say, if we don't have that really special wish to transform whatever I'm saying into the something that is going to help us and be beneficial, then it doesn't become beneficial. Just by the power of the words, the power of whatever I'm saying is not really possible. I always remember, at the time of the Buddha, that there was, I can't remember the name now, but there was one person that was actually really wanting to kill the Buddha, because he thought that the Buddha was not like, he was a, how do you say, charlatan? How do you say that? Charlatan? Like that he was not real, that he was just faking and he was not enlightened or anything like that. So you see, even an enlightened being, that he can say things, if we, from our side, we don't create the mind, we don't create, the causes and the conditions, we don't actually, from our side, generate a motivation, an intention to use whatever that person is telling us, then it becomes just nothing. And you see that, the Dalai Lama a lot has, like, many people that unfortunately also think like that. But at the other side, you have so many people that really inspire, get inspired by him. Because people are ready, people are also looking for that, right? So I'm not putting myself in the same. I was thinking, talking this, and I say, I hope that they understand that I'm not saying that I am close to the Buddha, the Dalai Lama. No, I'm just kaka. I'm nothing like that. But what I'm saying is that if we can create from our own side a positive intention for listening to the teachings, then we have a better probability, a bigger probability of actually making these teachings useful to us. And then that is what motivation is so important, because it can become just like useful for us to be a little bit happier, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more, how do you say, uh, satisfied in this life, a little bit more, oh yes, I'm having a headache, but when I listen to Dharma, then I become, Dharma talks, I become much better. That's, yeah, that's very okay. It's good. At least you're using something that is, to get you out of your headache. But the potential, the real possibility that the Dharma has is to not only eliminate the headache now, but it's to eliminate the entire headache of all future lives. And not only eliminate the headache, but eliminate all our problems, all our difficulties, right? And that is why when we do a motivation, we can decide what type of motivation we want to achieve. And the more we motivate for something bigger, let's say, and something kind of like that involves um, not only our own happiness, but maybe thinking about the happiness of others, then our motivation starts to grow. And then our results will be also bigger, right? That is easy to say. If you just want to get a certain thing in life, then you're just gonna get. But if you want to get something else, then if you want to just get high school degree, that's fine. But if you want to have college degree, then you need to study and then you can get a college degree, and then you can have a master's, a PhD, whatever you want to do. But then it depends on us. It depends on our intention. It depends on our wish. And it's exactly like this. The spiritual path, and especially the Dharma path, is exactly like that. One, it depends on our intention, and one builds up in the other. Because even though we might want the highest intention, we cannot get a PhD if we don't have a master's, if we don't have a bachelor's, if we don't have a high school diploma. We need to first know how to walk, and then we can actually get, a little bit further down the road. That is very important. So that's why when we're gonna hear what we are doing today, we need to start a little bit from where we are, and that is very special because that is makes the path, and especially the Buddhist path, which is a very experiential path, we make it our own. We stop with this idea of thinking that the spiritual path is just something outside and that someone else can do it for me. So it's very good that you come and you listen to this talk, but you might be listening to this talk for your entire life if you don't do actually something else with it. If you don't take it and incorporate and embody these transformations and the essence of these teachings into your life, into your heart, into your mind. There's a beautiful quote that says, forget about something like this, but don't. The Buddha said, he said, I'm gonna definitely make it horrible and completely wrong, but he said something in the terms of, don't pay attention to the teacher, pay attention to the teachings. Don't pay attention to the words, pay attention to the essence, right, of the teachings. And that is the most important part. It's not about the words, it's not about who is teaching it, it's about the essence of the teachings. And then we take this essence and we put it into our lives, and we try to contemplate, and we try to meditate, and we try to use it in our daily lives, and then we start to see results. And then experiences come, and then we can see how it goes. Then it's very special. Then we are really, really, really being able to walk the path, as we say. That is very special. So in order to do that, we need to then create a motivation for us, even though we might be I think this is like we still have 2 more classes after this one next week and then the following week, and that's it. Then we're gonna have a break for a couple of months.
I'm
So,
sorry, but next week we have no class, right?
oh
At
yes,
least
then
22nd.
next week we don't have class because it's 22nd. That's true. So next week there's no class, even that, because I will be coming back from the long life puja of His Holiness. That's true. So this is today, and then in 2 weeks, and that's it. So even though we have been listening to these teachings, or some of you have been coming every day, every week, being very, very kind, very, very generous with your time, but it doesn't mean that we don't need to remind ourselves again and again of our motivation. And that is most important. So important that we try to bring to mind our motivation for doing an action before anything we do. So let's try to do that. Let's just take a few moments to just create that motivation or enhance our motivation. And not only enhance, but we can try to expand it and develop it further and further. Because if we think about right now, if we just observe our bodies, getting a little bit tired, and maybe we don't even, throughout our days, we don't even pay attention to our bodies. We don't even feel ourselves present. not only our bodies, but also our mind. Our minds are completely like a crazy monkey jumping from one tree to the other in this hectic way of being, which it's quite difficult to actually find a little bit of time and peace and quietness to just observe, to just stay with ourselves. That is so wonderful that we actually have this possibility, that we decided to come out of our job, or our activities, or even to postpone our time to go to sleep, to be able to come here and listen to some Dharma talks. So once we decided that, it's because in some ways we understand that doing that, it helps us not only to find a little bit more of quietness and peace right here and right now, just by doing it in the moment itself, but we know that doing it in the long term, we can already experience some changes. Things that used to bother us, they don't stay so much. Or some things we don't even get bothered anymore. Or even if we do, at least we notice that we are getting bothered, that something's up. We are aware of our own mind. And from this awareness, we are able to then do something about it. And not only we can do something about it, but we can even go further and further into completely eliminating the causes for these disturbances to actually don't arise anymore. And not only this, but we are also seeing that the more we practice positive qualities of our minds, like love and kindness, compassion, patience, we find peace and satisfaction that are much more authentic and long lasting than following anger, attachment, jealousy, pride. So, in this way, we have an understanding that by doing this, by being here, it helps us not only immediately, but in the long term. And improves many areas of our lives, and especially our relationships with others, our interactions. And we start to realize that everything that we want, everything that we get, everything that we actually enjoy is due to the kindness of others. So, how come our interactions with others are not going to be beneficial for them as well? Because we see that they are also struggling. They also get angry. They also have attachments. They also suffer when they don't get what they want. So, in a way, we start to realize that us working on ourselves is not only about our own well being, But because we are interdependent with so many other beings, if we change, we help them to change as well. We don't change others, but we can become an inspiration and we can develop tools that will definitely bring them also benefit. So whatever we listen to today, we talk, we exchange, we contemplate, we meditate, we wish that we are able to then develop so we can achieve that state that is the best state to help others, the state of enlightenment, the state of completely cessation of our sufferings, of our negative emotions, and the seeds that they leave, and to develop in an unconditional and unlimited way all our qualities. So if we come to this conclusion, then everything that we do becomes the causes for our enlightenment to actually happen. We just need to keep remembering and reminding ourselves of this motivation. This motivation that we call bodhicitta, the wish to achieve enlightenment in order to help others to achieve the same state. And in order to help us reinforce this motivation, we're going to do some prayers, aspirational prayers, to embed our minds into these wishes. Because nowadays, most things that we do pull us to the other direction. So these prayers, they are anchor. They're like an anchor and like a remembrance, a reminder to actually help us to develop more and more this intention. So we can start with, we're going to do, Nana is sharing with us the prayers. We're going to start with the 4 immeasurables, especially developing what we call equanimity, love, compassion, and joy. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And then we go to page 98. When we're gonna take refuge, because as I was saying, nowadays everything pulls us to the other side of actually making us achieve enlightenment. But refuge is taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. They are objects that their only intention that they have, the only wish that they actually have, the only result that if we take refuge in them can actually bring us is enlightenment. So it's just a cause and effect relationship. If we take refuge in them and we actually practice the path, therefore we're going to end it up as a result achieving enlightenment. And that's what we want. So we unify our own wish with this wish of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And together this becomes our refuge, our own wish and the wish of them as helpers, as inspiration, as the path for actually making us achieve it. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Just a second, because I feel that is important and I sometimes forget to enhance this idea, especially for the Buddha, the Buddhist people, is that before we do any type of refuge, it's very important that we try to visualize the merit field, visualize our teachers, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the Dakas, the Kinis, Dharma protectors, all of the sentient beings that are part of this refuge field that wants to help us. We visualize them in front of us as full of light, as being full of light. Go first, we visualize them being a white light that is purifying us, and then we visualize as golden light coming us and giving us all of the necessary conditions. And we visualize surrounding us all sentient beings because we also want to help them. And one of the ways for them to actually achieve enlightenment is by taking refuge in the objects that will help them to do that. So you can visualize that every time we are doing the refuge prayer. So we continue again with this visualization. And while we do the prayer, we can visualize white light coming and really purifying us, cleaning ourselves, preparing ourselves. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. And we can see, imagine that all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they actually become full of golden light and come to the top of our head and enters into us, and we become full of golden light as if we are ready. We have all the tools and necessary conditions to become just like them, so we can benefit others. Very special if we can visualize like this. And we can stop here. Very good. So that's the class today. Just motivation. We can just do motivation, and then this is gonna be enough. It's almost, Lama Zopa, he used to do. Sometimes we used to have class with Rinpoche. Rinpoche would stay 2 hours doing motivation and then half an hour doing some talk. And then he would say the motivation was the class. But it is, if you think about it, it is everything. Because from this motivation, whatever we do can actually become Dharma. Is the motivation that is gonna create the difference between holy Dharma and worldly Dharma, which is exactly what we are studying. This book called How to Practice Dharma, and especially we are getting to the end of it. I don't know if any of you were able to read it, but we are on chapter 8, and it's turning away from worldly concerns. That's the chapter, the title of the chapter. And Rinpoche is talking about how we actually get happy when we renounce these 8 worldly concerns. Happiness only really comes and we really get what we want so much when we renounce what we think right now is going to bring the happiness that we want. It's very funny that, because this is so easy to see when we start to walking more and more on the path and study the Dharma and practice Buddhism, because we start to see that I want that, and then I go that direction. I want someone to like me. What do? I I either over engage with that person, that I want this person to like me, I want this person to like me, I want this person to like me, that the person starts to get aversion to you. Or we play the opposite. We say, no, I pretend that I don't want anything with the person. And then when the person comes, you kind of like, no, I don't want it. And then the person says, okay, so they don't want it, I'm gonna go somewhere else. So that is exactly how we work. We want so much something, but we create the causes to go to the opposite direction. Yeah? You see what I mean? You know what I mean? If I don't know if these how they say, connects with you, but for me, I remember a lot, and I can still see myself doing that so much, you know? Because that is the mind, the confusion. That is why we say that the basis of the eight worldly dharmas and the basis of our problems is actually our ignorance, the ignorant mind, the confused mind. This is exactly what it is. The mind that is confused, the mind that is ignorant in relation to understanding what happiness is and what is not happiness. How to get like a long-lasting happiness and how to get just temporary happiness. That is one of the main kind of like layers of confusion that we have. And this is exactly the basis of how we actually realize, because what we don't realize is that following this mind of attachment to worldly concerns, right? Instead of giving us the pleasure, the satisfaction that we want, it creates anxiety, it creates disconnection, it creates dissatisfaction. It gives exactly the opposite. Why? Because in the moment that we get, it immediately starts creating the opposite effect. So the moment that we get something that we want, it starts starts the fear of losing that we just got it. And losing might be the person breaking up with us, might be the thing that we bought breaking. It might be, something that we kind of like got that it might kind of like, disappear or go away, or something change. So you understand that it's like it will never bring what we want. It never can. But what do? We keep trying, we keep fighting, we keep wanting, and we keep banging our heads on the wall. That's how it feels. That's how headache comes, Headaches doesn't come because we are actually literally banging our heads on the wall but we are banging our heads on the wall of the eight worldly dharmas. That's what we're doing. We are so desperately wanting them, the eight worldly concerns, the concern about reputation, the concern about, praise, the concern about having kind of like just instant pleasures, the concern about, having comfort. That's what we are. We're just all the time doing that. And just craving and craving and craving and craving and looking and saying, oh yes, here's gonna be, oh no, and then we don't find it, and then we say, oh, let me start again. It's just because I was not in the right mind, I wanted like, and then we start again, and then we do the same thing with another person, with another car, with another job, with another situation. Just the same. Just change the name, just change the company, just change the person, just change the object. It's yes, no. I also I think that's a good expression. Just like, oh my God. That's exactly how it should be. But that is what we should like get. We should get to the point of understanding how this is our suffering and how we are completely hallucinating and completely, making ourselves suffer again and again and again, to the point that we have aversion to them, right? Aversion is not necessarily a bad thing if it is in relation to that. We need to have in some ways. Renunciation, this word that we talk so much about it, when Rinpoche says happiness comes when we renounce the 8 worldly dharmas, it's actually that. Renouncing means I am understanding through my mind that I don't want this. So it's kind of like, it's an aversion, it's an understanding aversion, type of aversion. Nowadays, we have aversion in a totally non-understanding way, you know? We have aversion when people want something from us and we don't want that. We want that person kind of like far away from us, right? Or we have something that we don't like, someone, the situation that we don't like, because we don't get anything out of it. There's nothing good for me. I'm just going to lose my time, waste my time. So I just waste, you know, aversion to that. That's how we live. But these things, actually doing something for others when we are not getting anything in return, is the key to start transforming our minds to actually get what we want. It's very interesting because it's the other way around. It's like it's the upside down. Is the word against it. And I remember that when I started to listen about that in Buddhism, and I started to study, and especially I started to see Rinpoche acting like that. And I remember one of the projects that I went, the center, the project was not very well and not good, doing very good. And I said, you know, that we didn't have so much money. And I said, okay, we're going to give a party and we're going to offer food and we're going to offer, like, you know, gifts to all of these people that come and all of that. And people were crazy thinking, what is he doing? He don't have money. How are you like going to do that? And I said, the moment where we actually start being generous, we're going to get generosity. Because that is what Dharma is. Dharma is not about, oh no, so then we just keep it to ourselves. We start to actually say, you cannot come to the class if you don't pay, you cannot do this. And then nobody wants to go anyway. So then you just put yourself into the hole more and 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 more. But if you use that situation to transform your mind and use the antidote of that, then you get what you want. Isn't that amazing if you think about it? And all of you, what I'm saying, you already experienced that. You are in a situation that you're getting angry at someone because, I don't know, the waiter is not getting what you want in the restaurant, or you are in a line trying to get some information or something, and then you're just like freaking out, and then you say, no, wait a minute, let me just calm down here, it's okay. And then you just become relaxed, and then the person is nicer to you, then actually things become more speedy because it looks like your mind is not so much into the problem and seeing all the, oh, look at this person doing this, just relax. And then the situation becomes better for you, becomes better for the other person, and then this connection becomes even better. Do you understand what I mean? We all know that. We all know that. We all have done that before. That is the thing. But we don't believe or we don't remember. It's just so ingrained in our minds, our selfish way of thinking. Our way of just thinking, me, myself, and I, and my happiness, and my family, and my friends, and my things, and me. And we think that this is going to become happy. This is going to bring happy. And it doesn't bring. Then we get angry at ourselves. We get angry at others. And then we just go into this spiral. Right? And this is spiral that becomes even harder to actually go out. You know, becomes harder for us to actually transform the mind into really seeing the opposite and practicing the opposite. But that is the beauty, as I say, for me, of the Buddhist path, and especially the Dharma, because the Dharma is just so perfect. And when you think about what is so perfect about the Dharma, is because the Dharma and we say reality is the same. And reality is perfect. Do you understand that? Reality is perfect as it is. There's nothing that we can do about changing reality. Right? But we are so obsessed with wanting things in a different way, in our own word way, that we want to change reality. For example, we don't want to rain, and it's raining, and we get angry, or we get like, you know, or we have an accident, or something happens, or we are driving and there's an accident in the road, and then there's a traffic jam. There's nothing you can do about it, right? So we try, the moment that we don't accept the reality and we try to shift and to transform it, the reality, then we suffer. So that is what the eight worldly dharmas are doing to us. The eight worldly dharmas, they are trying to transform the reality into a way that is unreal, because it believes that actually the unreal way will bring us happiness. But it doesn't. It just doesn't. It actually creates the opposite. None, I'm loving your expressions. Yes. Oh my God. It's exactly like this. That's what it is. It's just like it is. If you really observe how we work, how our minds work, we are completely nuts. You know, nuts are not those people that are in the psychiatric ward. You know, yes, they are different types of nuts, different types of crazy. But we are all crazy. We are all sick, mentally sick in a way. The Lama Yeshe used to say that. He used to say, and Rinpoche used to say these beautiful phrases about saying that the biggest illness that there is in the world, it's self-cherishing. It's the mind that only thinks about ourselves, because it's a wrong mind. It's a wrong view. It's against reality. Because reality is not permanent as our minds are creating. Reality is not independent. It's not independent in the way that is thinking it is. You know, reality is dependent. We depend on cause and condition. We depend on each other. We depend on everything and everyone. Because we don't see things like that, we suffer. That is the most important thing that we need to understand. So then, real happiness only can come if we understand that. Real happiness can only exist the moment that we can transform our view and getting closer and closer and closer to reality. So that is why the Buddhist path is so special, because what the Buddhist path says, it shows us how the negative views, how the negative emotions, how the disturbing emotions, as we say, how they are not based in reality. Therefore, they disturb us because they are not based in reality. And how developing the qualities that we have right now, if we get in them closer and closer to actually developing real qualities, not qualities contaminated by this wrong view, creates happiness. Make sense? Yes? That is very special. Then you understand that it's always going to be these two aspects, these two wings that we're going to have to work into the work of decreasing and eliminating completely our negative tendencies, our negative emotions, and the tendencies, right? Because that is something that we need to understand, that the eight worldly dharmas, they don't simply just make us suffer in the moment. They make our minds even more used to looking for the same answers in that same way, and therefore suffering again in the future. So it's kind of like that continuity that we want to start to avoid. We want to stop that as well. So it's not only stopping at the moment we are angry, we want to stop because we don't want to feel angry, we don't want to feel our minds disturbed, we don't want to have that and have our blood pressure changing, our minds getting worse, we getting uptight and all of that. We don't want that first. But we not only not want that, but we don't want to experience that again. Because situations will happen. We cannot avoid. Renouncing the eight worldly concerns doesn't mean that we're not going to experience difficulties and challenges. It's not about that. It's like, this is part of being a human being in the way that we are a human being right now. which is a contaminated human being, right? We have the potential to experience these sufferings right now. Why? Because of our tendencies, because of our habits. So that is what we want to stop as well. And not only this, but then we want to start developing our good qualities. All the good qualities that we have. We already experience them in some subtle levels sometimes. And in certain levels, you know, when we are nice to our family, when we are nice to friends, when we are nice to strangers, when we are nice, you know, even to the people that are not so nice to us. You all been there. You all done that. And you all tasted how it is good, how these actually create a certain type of mind that is very different than the agitated mind that has, for example, when we get something that we really, really like. You know, when we actually get what we like, we are actually happy. Our minds are like buzzing, like you know, like a crazy person, just like oh yeah, this is so good, oh, no, no. And you're so excited that there's no actually enjoyment. I don't want to sound critic, but sometimes I feel when I go to a restaurant here in the US, it's a little bit like that, you know, because everything comes very fast, and then already comes the bill, and it's almost like you need to, you know, eat and rush, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, because in Europe it's much a bit more relaxed, and if you go especially to India, wow, you can have, like, you know, stay in the restaurant the entire day and even sleep over there with them, that they don't care. But you know, in the West, and especially here in America, everything's just so that, you know, and then they already bring the check. If you don't even ask, that you don't even didn't ask yet, but they already bought, you know, and then you just pay and then you go. And yes, it's something very. It's kind of like you get what you want because you're eating a delicious meal, you know, and you have very nice places, and you have what is that thing that is very funny to me, that is like refill of drinks, you know, that is kind of like they just keep bringing, but you didn't even ask. You still have like half of the other, but now you need to get another one. So it's just that kind of like, you know, constant exercise of like, come, and then you're like, oh, that it sometimes is not that relaxing as we thought it was going to be, just going to the restaurant, right? So that is very important to understand. That's a perfect example to show to us that, oh, actually, is it that what is happiness? Or when sometimes we just have a very nice, relaxed meal at home with someone, you know, that we just have a meaningful conversation, a sharing conversation. So then we start to think, oh, it is actually the restaurant, the food, the, you know, the place, the environment that creates the experience of happiness, or it is our mind, right? Right now, and that is very important for us to understand, that we are still very influenced by the external environment. Thankfully, because otherwise monasteries and retreat centers would not need to exist. Because if you are in a way that you can do retreat in the middle of, you know, New York, then there's no need to have a retreat center in the mountains. But we are not there yet, right? Well, I don't know, maybe some of you are, maybe some of you actually think like can do a beautiful retreat in New York. But you know, I am still very baby, and I really need, you know, sometimes the isolation, and sometimes, you know, turning off the phone and just kind of like going to a peaceful surrounding, because that, in some ways, these outside conditions, it helps my mind to also go into this. Why? Because my mind is still very dependent on external factors. But with time, we just go training the mind, and we go letting go of the 8 worldly concerns and the 8 worldly dharmas. Then every experience that we start to have starts to become a little bit like being on retreat. Rinpoche used to say this in such a beautiful way. He used to say, there's no there's no vacation for the eight worldly concerns. So wherever you go, the eight worldly concerns are there with you. So that is very important, because I think I told already, maybe I don't know if in this group, but I'm already forgetting everything I say, but how Rinpoche went to Tahiti. No, I think I told this story that he went to Tahiti and he had so much suffering because people would go over there and so much money, spend so much money, but suffer because the weather was not the way that they wanted, the food was not the way, the hotel room was not the way. So he said, there's no vacation for the eight worldly concerns. They're always there. Craving for more attention, craving for whatever they want. And he used to say that the real renunciation, renouncing the eight worldly concern, is like being in retreat all the time. That is very special, right? Is being in this way that everything that we can have, we can experience everything outside is still, but not being bothered, not being affected by this. Doesn't mean at all what I'm trying to say, what Rinpoche is to say, indifference. It's not that. Indifference is actually an experience that is almost like a negative experience. It's a neutral experience because we're just like indifferent, but it's almost a kind of like a negative in the sense of like, I don't want to engage, right? So I just become indifferent, so I don't have to experience whatever it is that it is experienced. And this is not like that. You experience whatever you're doing when you are in retreat, but you use it to go inside your mind. You go inside your mind and you can use introspection to see what is going on, to transform it. That is why retreat is so difficult, because it's just you with your mind. That's why you need to be very ready to the retreat. There's a beautiful retreat center from the FMT in Spain. It's outside of the mountain, outside of Granada in Spain, South Spain. Very beautiful place called Ling, where actually Lama Oso, the reincarnation of Lama Yeshe, was born. And it's a beautiful land it's quite high. I have no idea, like I don't know how many feet, but it's quite high in the mountains, and you can see the ocean, and like very far away the ocean, and it's a beautiful place. And they have 10 individual retreat huts, very, very basic, right? Some of them don't even have hot water, or the toilet and the shower is outside, it's like those dry toilets. So it's a very kind of like basic place, but very special, very profound place. Actually, the Dalai Lama was there in 82 and gave the name Ling, a place of or land of clear light, because that's what you can experience, the clear light of your mind. It's just everything crystal clear, very special. And I remember I was there for a few 1.5 years. I stayed there a little bit more, and sometimes people would come to the retreat. And people would come, we had to, you had a minimum of 1 week that you used to do. It's not something that you just go for 2 days or a few days. No, some people that, and we always need to kind of like people that would have experience and heard about the teachings and all of that. Very important, no? Because it can be difficult. And some people would kind of like either lie that they had done something like this, or they would kind of like say, no, but I did like yoga and I did some of this, and maybe they did, but maybe they didn't do it in such an environment like that, so isolated like this. Because also for food, we have these beautiful little baskets that we deliver in a place, so you don't need to see the other person, so you just deliver. And the way you communicate is that you put a little note in the basket, so we see the note and then we answer the note. So it's very special. So it can be very isolating. So many times, these people that were not prepared, some people that were kind of like either lied, after the second or third day, gone completely, couldn't make it anymore. They would come and say, can I get my phone back? I think I'm gonna leave. Why? Because they are not ready to stay with their own minds. They are not ready to be disturbed, to not have the disturbances taken from them. They are not ready to actually don't have the 8 worldly concerns anymore. It's too much. So that's why we need to go gradually. We need to go slowly understanding and observing our own minds on our daily lives. Not just like, oh yes, one day we do a little bit, one day we don't do one day. No, we just try to go slowly, building up this understanding and observing our minds. That is how we do it. And then when we can, we go, we study, we contemplate, we meditate a little bit in groups. Then we go to a group retreat. We do a weekend. Or we go to Kopan in Nepal and we do like a week or 10 days, Then very good. You have an environment that you speak a little bit, but then you don't speak for a few hours. And then you have teachings, you have meditation, you go building up. And then when you feel ready after a few years, then you do like a week, like individual retreat. And then you start to see how the minds, it's almost like, some people have that coffee machine that you put like the powder and then you put water, and then you press something like this. And then it starts to go like, to separate. So it starts to get all of the coffee like things starts to go down, and the clear coffee starts to go up. It's like that, the mind. You start to see all of the craziness, starts to go a little bit down. And then you start to feel the experience a little bit more. The clarity, the subtleness, that's very good. And then you can read inspiring stories for these Tibetans, and these great lamas and these great meditators in Tibet and India that used to do this. They used to stay years in solitary retreat. If you read in this chapter, Lama Zopa is talking about Geshe Lama Konchok. He was one of the meditators that he stayed 15 years meditating in a cave in the place called Tsum Valley, which is in Nepal. Was actually the last place where Lama Zopa Rinpoche was before he actually came down from the mountain and passed away. So it's a very isolated place, and he was there for 15 years or more. And when he came back, people used to say that his mind was so bright and clear that you could almost feel it. You would see it and see that this person, there's something different in it. That is very inspiring. And then when he passed away, when you guys go to Kopan next year with me for our pilgrimage, we're going to do a pilgrimage, so we're going to see it. In Kopan, we're going to go and visit the relics. And what are the relics? The relics are precious stones that were found and were created by his own body when he was cremated. So when they cremated the body, the substances, due to the power of his intention and his realizations of the mind, they created beautiful precious stones like lapis lazuli, like pearls, and all of these beautiful things to inspire people. So even his own dead body, he made an intention to help others. So that is the power of the mind. That is the power of the intention. That is the power of being free from the 8 worldly concerns. You are even free from your own body. Your own body can kind of like, but let's use it to benefit others. Wow, that's special. That is very, very, very special. And we all have this potential. We all can do that, So that's why it's so important that we start to use these teachings and these talks and whatever we read, whatever we contemplate, we meditate into our daily lives. We need to use it. Everything that we do, everything that we kind of like put it into practice, then it becomes. Right? So that's why understanding how the 8 worldly concerns actually appear in our mind, the introspection of having them and seeing them is so important. Then if you start to realize, I always say that for me, this book is kind of like a manual to our own minds. our daily lives. If you put it, if you really start to understand what are the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 types, okay, attachment to, to material things, aversion to discomfort, or to having comfort and to discomfort, attachment to pleasures, aversion to unpleasant situations, attachment to praise, and aversion to criticism, attachment to good reputation, aversion to bad reputation. If you put this and you write them down and you look at this every single day and you just try to say, okay, today you can use it as a game. I'm gonna check if I am doing, like I am being attached to reputation and having aversion to bad reputation. And then you go in your daily lives, just check. Just see. See if you're doing this. Maybe today not, but maybe I realized that today what I did, I was actually quite attached to praise, or I was very aversion to criticism, right? Then you start to check and you start to recognizing these things. And then life becomes joyful, because then you start to enjoy these problems, enjoy these situations, enjoy being observing these, because the moment that you catch them, then you can start transforming them, right? Then you start to actually wanting to let it go of them. We start to say, oh, attachment is not going to bring what I want. These that I am actually completely craving and grasping to is not going to get the long-term solution, the long-term peace of mind, the long-term lasting happiness that we want. So you start to juggle, you start to play. That's why there's that beautiful book from Lama Zopa Rinpoche called Transforming Problems into Happiness. You start to see that. You start to see the problems that were created because of our worldly concerns, because of these 8 worldly concerns. That's where our problems are coming from. There's a beautiful quote from actually one Kadampa Geshe that he used to say, I'm going to try to say, he says, we seek happiness in these, and throughout our lives, we don't get a sign of what we want. When you do not crave for gifts, this is the best gift. When you stop craving for praise, this is the best praise. When you stop craving for fame, this is the best fame. When you stop craving for, he says retinues, but the idea is actually, I prefer like the idea of craving friends and people. This is the best friends and retinues that you can have. This is so profound if you think about it. It is just trying. So that's why I'm saying we need to start trying. So you need to try to observe your mind and say, okay, I'm getting attacked. Oh, I'm getting aversion to this. Oh, I'm wanting fame. Let me then not follow the mind that wants fame and check what happens. And the more you do that, the better it becomes, the easier it becomes, and the more actually joy and happiness you get. And normally, if you think about it, who are the people that have real fame? The type of fame that we would like to have is the people that are humble, people that are generous, people that are kind, right? Or you want to be like having types of fame that is like, oh yes, he has a fame of being the most upsetting, angry person in the firm. You want to have the fame of being the kind of like the person that it brings disharmony into the family. You don't want that. You want to be the person that actually brings harmony, that is kind, that is generous, that is all of that. So look how smart it is. But actually, it's quite simple if we look at it. We all know, we all do that. It's just the strong habituation of the mind and the lack of motivation and the lack of attention. Motivation is what is going to bring us in. The more we understand, the more we want to change, the more we want to transform ourselves. This needs to come from our experiences. So we need to try to do it, but then we need to have the experience. And then the more experience we have, the more our motivation will transform. Right? We want to continue wanting that. So how do we get the experience? We need to be aware of our minds. We need to have introspection. We need to be conscious what we are doing. And then once we do it, then we apply the methods. You know, we don't follow the 8 worldly concerns. Now that we see them, we don't follow them, and we do the opposite. Right? Make sense? Yes? Okay. So, any questions so far?
I have a question.
Yes, Deepa, thank you. I was getting
Um,
tired of my voice already.
so I've always struggled with how to balance what what I want versus what's doing something for somebody else. Like how do
Mhm.
you draw that balance between yourself cherishing some.
So the balance between the self-cherishing and doing something for others? I think we lost Deepa, but I think that was the question, right?
I'm sorry, actually you froze for a second. Sorry, could you say that?
So the question was that if I understood correctly, was that what is the balance between self-cherishing and
Yes,
and doing something for others?
right. Like when do we, yeah, that's the question basically.
Okay. That's very good. It's very good because actually they are the same. If we really understand our minds, we understand that what we want is happiness, right? Something that brings us happiness, something that brings us kind of like a lasting happiness. Well, that's what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about immediate happiness, satisfaction. That is a big distinction that I hope that I can make you guys understand. When I'm talking about happiness, I'm talking about long-lasting happiness. I'm not talking about immediate, insta satisfaction. That is not that. If I want that, so if I am clear in my mind that I want that long-lasting happiness, then I will understand that helping others and thinking about others will bring me that. And I will understand that actually following the mind of my own desires and my own attachments will not get me there, will get me to suffering. So it's very easy. The moment that you actually have a decision, you just check. And then that is the difficult part, is that we need to be honest with ourselves. And we need to have a very clean, clear, as Lama Yeshe used to say, a clean, clear motivation of what we want. And that is the difficult part, because we don't do that. We sit here and we say, may I achieve enlightenment to benefit sentient beings? But the moment that our lives become a little bit more comfortable, we find a partner, we find a job, we have money, we get this, we forget about Dharma. We don't want to use anymore, training the mind because I got what I wanted. So then we didn't want enlightenment. We didn't want lasting happiness. We just wanted actually, instant pleasure, but we didn't know how to get it. Or we were struggling to get it. So that is the main point. It's actually being honest with our own motivation. That is the first point. If we are, then we're going to be willing to sacrifice the instant pleasure towards the long-lasting happiness. So that means that I will know that me actually having less instant pleasure will help me to get more lasting happiness. And me having lasting pleasure doesn't mean that my life will become horrible, because that's what happens sometimes. We get anxious just by thinking that if I give up my desires, if I give up, like, you know, the hot water and the AC, I'm gonna suffer and die. No, it's not like that. If I give up, you know, the relationship, if I give up my fame, if I give up, no. As I'm saying here, the moment you start doing, giving up, not the object, forget, it's not about giving up the object. When you give up the mind that is craving for that, then you get that. The moment that you stop, if you're working and you just want to kind of like, you know, do whatever, be Machiavellic, you know, there's this word in English, Machiavellic. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's a, I don't know if you know what that means, but it's like, you know, it's from a book from called The Prince, that actually he used to do whatever he would do it in order to get what he wanted. And that's what we are in some ways. We just do whatever we have to do in order to get what we want. So when we start to doing that, what we start to actually happen is that we start to suffer more. So if we are really understanding that letting go and giving up of these short-term pleasures bring us to the long-lasting happiness that we want, then it becomes easy. Then we know. Then life becomes meaningful, becomes easy to decide. And as I'm saying, it's not about the object. I'm not saying to you, you need to sell your house, sell your car, give up your relationship, you know, stop making money. No, not like that. You stop craving for these things. And then your mind will start opening more and more. So instead of actually getting worried and getting anxious and, you know, kind of like not sleeping because you're not getting everything that you want, you have more time to relax and to enjoy. And then you become a more calm and peaceful person. And then actually you get everything that you need. Isn't that crazy? It's the opposite. So that is the way that we kind of like have to decide. That is the balance. The balance depends on our motivation. And that is why it's so hard. Because right now, we just need to work on our motivation. And to work on our motivation, we need to understand where we are at and understand that following where we are at, it doesn't bring happiness. The long lasting that we all want. So then we need to start working on our minds. It's almost kind of like we have a disease called holding the glass. And someone is coming and telling us, I promise, because we have a disease that we think that if we take out the glass, we're never going to be able to drink water again. We're going to lose the glass and the water. It's going to be horrible, and we're going to be thirsty, and we're going to suffer so much. It's going to be very, very bad for us. So that's what we do. And then there is someone like a hairy, crazy Brazilian monk that starts to say, no, 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 no. Like, let it go of the glass. Let it go of the glass. No, 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 I cannot let it go of the glass. No, 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 it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult. I'm going to suffer so much if I don't get the glass. I have the glass. Look, I can drink water with the glass. No, I have to. And then he says, no, 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 just slowly put away. Slowly put away. And then, you start to kind of like try and check and this and that and that and that. And then you start and you realize that the moment that you take out the two hands of the water, actually, you can grab whatever you want. You can grab juice, you can grab Coke, you can grab wine, you can grab beer, So we actually start to see that there's much more out there that we can actually experience. But we are totally holding on to the glass because we think that without it, we're going to suffer. So this is just a metaphor for our lives. And the problem when we are doing that is exactly deeper. What you're saying is that when we start doing that, we are actually not being able to truly be there and help others. Because when we have a mind that is totally understanding, there is a choice for us to help others more than helping ourselves, there is no conflict, there's no suffering. Because we understand that actually helping others, it helps us as well. Because the moment that we let it go of the glass and we start opening our hearts, we can start grabbing water for others as well. Grabbing juice, grabbing this. And every time we give a glass of water for someone that is thirsty, wow, you feel so good. You feel so good with yourself, and you feel so good with the other person, for the other person. Because you know what it is to be thirsty. You know what it is when the other person is thirsty. So that is already incredible. But then what we can go even further is that we can start helping others to letting go of their glasses. So they also, because we are all holding glasses, you know, and we can start letting go. So we can help others to do that. And you can see the person becomes free as well. Isn't that beautiful? And then we get what we actually wanted. We become happy. We become peaceful. We become joyful. I don't know if that helps, Deepa, but that's like the way that I try to explain.
Yes, it does. Thank you. So basically, you just start at getting clarity on motivation.
Mm-hmm. Getting clarity on the motivation and understanding that just if we are thinking only about ourselves, we're not gonna get what we want. That is the thing.
I wish it was as easy as giving somebody a glass of water
I
and
know.
letting that glass go. But yeah, that's a great analogy. Thank you so much.
I know. But I promise that if we do it more and more, it becomes. Life after life after life, at some point, at some life, is going to become like just putting the glass down. That is the beauty of it as well. Because that is the thing that the more we do it, actually, the more we can achieve that. And we can see it in our daily lives. You know, Alex was telling the other day that how he still gets angry in the traffic, but he started to say, okay, I'm not going to get angry anymore. I'm just, you know, sometimes you just, and then you see the anger arising, but you just already relax. And then you don't suffer so much, right? But some days, of course, he's not in a good mood. Something went bad, or he didn't sleep well, let's see, or this or that. And then, of course, he still gets a bit angry. But now he has tools, right? That is the beauty of it. It's not about fast fixing. There's no fast food dharma. That doesn't exist. You know? Insta dharma, insta fast food dharma. No, thankfully. Because otherwise we would be. And that's why sometimes we need to be very careful. And I say this in the best of my intentions, but we need to be very careful with what type of dharma we approach. Because sometimes, and I've been seeing these more and more, unfortunately, the Buddha predicted that actually. Very, 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 very special. There's some sutras that the Buddha was talking about how the degeneration of times would be and how the Dharma was. Kandrala, one of my teachers, she used a word, an expression, say that the Dharma is going to implode from inside. So that means that actually people that are trying to practice Dharma, their words are just meaningless. They say, but actually they know and they speak very beautiful, but the mind doesn't change. The heart doesn't change. So we don't want that for ourselves, right? We want actually to put this into our heart and really try to transform that. It's hard. Yes, it is hard, but we can do it. Yes, Nana?
I have an objection.
You have a what?
An objection
Yes.
about the instant dharma, because I heard once Rinpoche was saying that even if you don't understand the meaning of it. Just remember the word bodhicitta will change your mind. And from my experience, I would say it's true. So
yes, it's funny because I understand what you mean, but what I'm trying to say is that when we start to actually practice Dharma, we immediately feel the results, but they are not the ending results. We start to feel the benefits, right? We start to feel just the benefits of it. And is exactly what Rinpoche said, just hearing the word bodhicitta and contemplating, the more you go thinking and exploring and developing, it becomes, it's almost like a, it's a fountain that continues kind of like giving more and more and more. It's what we say is a wishing fulfilling jewel, right? It just fulfills more and more all of our crazy desires of happiness that we had, right? We thought that, oh, if I get that house and that thing and that partner and that this, I'm gonna be happy. And then we get everything and we don't get one point or 0.1% of the happiness that we can actually get when we start practicing bodhicitta, right? Because bodhicitta is limitless. And then, wow, start to experience that. And then, yes, then I agree with you. Then there is the instant experience and benefit, right? Definitely, definitely. And the more we do it, the easier it becomes, the faster it gets, and the better it becomes to us and for others. I've seen so many people transform their lives, because of Dharma as well. How the Dharma really touched them and then just transformed them. People that were so aggressive, people that were kind of like, especially, there's a project called the Liberation Prison Project, which was Venbo Rubina started, and then other people nowadays they have in several countries. And it's just people that actually started to give meditation and Dharma to prisoners. And in prisons, of course, so inmates in prisons. And wow, the transformations. Some people, Rubina, she's gonna come in October, so you guys can ask her to talk about it if you would like to. She used to talk about people that were in death rows, because in the US, unfortunately, people, can be killed, can be sent to death, and they used to go like free, in a totally different way that they would go when they were there. They were so anxious, they were suffering so much, they couldn't make it, they were kind of like, so angry and all of that. And because of Dharma, they would really, it really touches me. That is the power of Dharma. Dharma has the power to completely transform any situation that we are in. We don't understand that when we really start to practice Dharma, we become in some ways fearless because we know that whatever happens, we are able to do it. It's because it's our mind and our hearts. Okay? That is the power of the Dharma. That is the power of renouncing the eight worldly concerns.
thank you so much, Venerable. I'm sorry for being arrogant.
No, I love it. I think that is very good. Very, very good. And that's why, before we finish, here Rinpoche talks a little bit about, I'm seeing my my notes. That's why we talk about vows in Buddhism. What are vows and morality? These I needed to talk for a few months, but or maybe a few years. But vows are actually understanding. Is a little bit what I was talking to Deepa, is that the moment you understand that transforming our minds and letting go of the instant pleasure, it is going to bring to us a long-lasting happiness and is actually going to bring us freedom, Then when we take vows, vows are just things that helps us. Vows are not for kind of like others. Nobody's forcing you to take vows. Vows are you understanding your limitations and understanding that you need help, external help. It's like the retreat, right? You need the environment, you need the place, you need the views, you need the computer being locked, the phone being locked, you need not talking to anyone in order to touch certain aspects of your mind. And the vows are the same. Vows, they come to help us, you know, to help us when we are kind of like going to jump into find the easy fix, the instant dharma, the, you know, the kind of like the really short-term pleasure. It holds us back. It makes us, it reminds like, it's like, you know, in cartoons when you have the little and then there's like a a light, a bulb that comes out like this, you know, like ding. It's like just like that. Is that attention point that comes to your mind that is like, oh, is it really gonna bring me what my mind is telling me now? So it's kind of like we put barriers, you know? It's like that in the Olympics when there's those guys that go like jumping, you know, like they have these barriers, you know? So these vows, they are like barriers to stop us to just going like a crazy person and following the crazy mind of the desires and the outwardly concerns. So this is like a little bit of like what, so that's why, you know, that we have especially three types of the vows. We have the praktimosha, or the self-liberation vows, because those vows are the vows that we do lay people. So we have five types. We have lay people, laymen, lay people. We have wait, yes, we have for lay people. We have for and for monks and nuns, right? So we have yeah, different types of vows inside of the monks and nuns. So let's say like that. And these are self-liberation vows. Okay? Self-liberation, because we are thinking that doing those vows is going to help us to not commit negativities, like following the eight worldly dharmas, and it's going to help us to improve ourselves into doing positive things. And then we have the Mahayana vows, the bodhicitta vows, bodhisattva vows, which is we do it in order to help others and to not harm others as well, right? Very beautiful, the Mahayana vows. So they are kind of like, in a way, scale, but they are kind of, how to say, levels, but they are kind of like building up on each other. And then we have the tantric vows, which is much more powerful, and that's why it's so hard, because we are very difficult to keep them, and because we don't have the stability to, for example, see everything as we should be seeing reality, right? So it's very hard. It's not that easy, but they are very useful tools. So these are tools. The vows are tools that the Buddha created 2000, almost 2,600 years ago, to help us, and not a prison, not something that we should stop. And he didn't give only vows for monks and nuns. No, you can be a lay person, you can have a job, you can have a relationship, you can have children, and you can have the lay vows, and you can have take bodhicitta vows, and you can have tantric vows. So he realized that it was not about monks and nuns and just, you know, not that at all. So he said, no, it's for everybody. That is very, very special. So vows are tools to help us. Okay? So keep that in mind. So it tools to help us practice morality. And what morality is? It's not harming ourselves, not harming others, and helping others. Morality is to make sure that we don't create more negativities, and we don't create more the seeds and the habitual mind that makes us create negativities again and again, and makes us create more positivity and the habit of creating more positive actions. That's what vows are for. Okay? We can talk about more on the last teaching, last day as well. Actually, if depending on the flight that I get, because I haven't got yet my flight to come back, I might be able to actually do the class next week. I'll let you guys know. Okay? I'll let you guys know. Let's make strong dedication to take the flight. I will make it. You don't need to make it because this is just you don't need if you only if you like, but I need to do it. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it was beneficial. And in order to make sure that we at least make it beneficial, we try to dedicate them. We remember to dedicate. Dedication is, as I always used to say and like to say, that is like when we are planting a seed, we open the hole and then we plant the seed and then we put water, we put everything that needs, and then we seal it, we close it to make sure that it's gonna actually be able to sprout. So that's what we are doing. We are sealing it, we are closing it with this intention that everything that we heard, everything that we talk, everything that we contemplate, everything that we meditate, everything that we have done, throughout this day, throughout today, that might be able to actually arise in our minds all the time in this bodhicitta motivation. That we really develop this wish to benefit others by achieving enlightenment, so we can help them in the most effective and efficient way, so they can also achieve the same enlightened state of being free from suffering and the causes of suffering and the obscurations, the negative tendencies, and that we are able to develop our positive qualities in unconditional and unlimited ways. And of course, we dedicate to all our teachers, because without them, we would not even hear about the word Dharma, about eight worldly concerns, about antidotes, about, love and kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. We not even hear the word bodhicitta, and the word emptiness, the right view, reality, nothing. And especially we have a Buddha living in this world called His Holiness the Dalai Lama, that is a beacon of light, a beacon of harmony, a beacon of peace. So we dedicate for his long and healthy life, so he can continue inspiring us and so many sentient beings around the world. And then we can dedicate also for all our teachers to have a long and healthy life, and especially because we are here due to the kindness of so many people that created the center, that volunteer, that taught, that kind of the students that came, the benefactors. And this center only exists due to the kindness of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So Lama Zopa, who passed away last year, so we haven't found yet his reincarnation, because we still need to create the conditions for that to happen. So we need to dedicate for that. So Rinpoche to come back and continue teaching us and all sentient beings and being an inspiration, so we can believe that we also can do that. And then we dedicate not that doing this, practicing the Dharma, letting go and renouncing the eight worldly concerns, it's our contribution for the world to have no wars, no famine, no disease, no social and economical and environmental problems. Because it's the mind of the eight worldly Dharmas that creates all of that. So we renounce that. So we renounce these problems. We dedicate that they can definitely be eliminated right here and right now. And like this, our dedication becomes a way to have a more peaceful, harmonious, and loving world. So in order to help us in this, we're going to do aspirational prayers as well, as a way to remind ourselves of this. Okay? Very important to do prayers as well. Prayers are also like vows. They are these connections to help us on our daily life to make these aspirations and kind of like create this intention in our mind. So we go to page 235. General dedication prayers. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme dew bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra true realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praises the best by the victorious ones and thus gone of the 3 times, so I might perform good works. I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of perfect, pure Losandrapa to shine forever. Losandrapa is the creator of our school of Tibetan Buddhism, who was an incredible practitioner who was also called Lama Tsongkhapa. So that's his name. And now Shantideva, which was the 7th century master, which is so special. So we're gonna do these dedications. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain a notion of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And we'll go to 244 for the long life of the Dalai Lama. In the land encircled by the snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. O powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And we can do just this in Tibetan as well. Ganji Ramwe Korwe Jinkan Dipenda Dewa Malu Jumwe Ne Chenre Zigwan Tenzin Gyatso Yi Shape Site Bardu Tengyur Chi. Thank you, Nana. And now we're gonna do the swift return prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wear the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointed for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly remain in glory for fortunate disciples. So thank you very, 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 very much. I hope you have a good evening, and I see you back in person and online on Sunday. Thank you. Thank you. Have a
Thank you, thank
wonderful evening. See you soon, Sharon. See you soon, Jack. See you soon, Alex and Nana. Thank you so much for doing this. And I see all of you online. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That was so helpful. Thank you so
Very
much.
good. Do you have a
Um,
minute?
What? Sorry?
Do you
Go
have
ahead, Sharon.
do you have a minute to talk to me?
Yes. Let me stop.